Okay, so in this video we're going to have a quick look at the groups. So we'll group the drums to a pair of groups on the desk, and then we'll look at group inserts, which is pretty much the same process as the insert we just did on the kick, but this time it'll be on the whole drums. And then we'll finish up by looking at how we can use the compressed signal in parallel with the uncompressed signal. So we're in the same setup as the last video with our door inputs. We've got a rough mix here, and we can hear that on our speakers. And we've got a bit of compression and EQ just on the kick drum. So what I want to do is group these together over to here. We'll do this by selecting each track and changing its routing using the master section over here. So with number 1 selected, I'm going to take it off the main mix and assign it to the groups. And at this stage, basically you should just hear everything except for the bass disappear. It won't be audible anymore. Okay, so take it off the mix and route it to the groups, and then go on to number 2. Do the same thing. Number 3, I'll leave the bass, which is on 4. Go to the overheads. Take that off the main mix, and same with 6. So we can't hear the drums anymore, and that's because the groups are turned down. So if I turn these up, you'll notice that we still don't hear anything. That's because you need to check that the group trims are turned up. So these should just be turned up all the way. And then the last thing to check to make sure that your groups are working properly are that they're panned left and right, so that they'll maintain any stereo image that you already have. So my overheads were panned left and right. I need to pan the groups left and right so that I still get the stereo image on there. Now I have the groups on these faders, the drums on these groups. And it means that I can control the level of all of the drums without having to try and put my fingers up onto these and keep them the same relative levels to each other. So I can fade the drums in and out and so on. So the next thing I want to do is do an insert on the drums to compress the drum group together. So to do that, this time we're looking further up the patch bay here for the group, the bus outputs, or bus insert sends and insert returns. So the labeling could be a bit confusing, and you just have to get used to that. So we'll take the group. So now I should have the whole drum kit on these patch cables, and I'm going to patch that into the input of one of the compressors in the studio. And again, if I look over to the compressor, I can see that the lights are moving there, so I know that the first part of the patch has worked. Then I'm going to take the output, so it's top out, bottom in. So this is the compressed version of the drums, and I'm going to patch that back to the bus insert returns, and that'll complete the patch and replace the non-compressed drums with the now heavily compressed drums. And if we monitor that, the last thing I'll need to do is basically engage the insert. Again, the labeling could be confusing because it says DAW, but that will do the same thing that the insert button does for each channel. So this is basically your insert button. You should hear a difference when I press it in. Off. On. Okay, so that's the sound of heavily compressed drums. You can hear the cymbals pumping and all sorts of stuff going on there. So the last thing I want to show you in this video is how to include this compressed drum signal, where all the drums are being compressed together, with the individual drums that we started with. So I'm going to fade these down again, And what I want to do is reassign the drums back to the main mix, starting with my kick. So you can see that it's selected here, and I'll hit main mix and go over to the snare, main mix. The bass is already there, and we're moving on to the overheads. Okay, so our original drum sound is back, but what I can do now is fade up the compressed drums to thicken out that drum sound. So with it in and out. Okay, so that covers groups and group inserts.